Well, I want you guys to know I had a really kick-ass speech prepared till this morning, and then in the final practice, the speech got wrecked. And Mike Arning and I had to bring up a backup speech, so we're going to give it the best shot we got here. But due to technical difficulties and trademark infringement, we had to park the first car. So we'll try this and see how this works. But, you know, last year was on this very night, I remember I was sitting in my sprint car hauler at a track in Florida getting ready for my heat race. And I thought it would be funny to send Jeff Gordon a text message and let him know what I was doing and how much fun I was having at the races that night. And for him to have fun, and congratulations, and it was a well-deserved honor for him to be in the Hall of Fame. And I always thought I was funnier than Jeff, but when Jeff fired back a response that was too funny for me to have a comeback for, he said, "I'm just warming it up for you for next year." And I told him, "Don't put that on me." And I'll be damned if he was right. So back in May when I was voted in this year's Hall of Fame class, I was truly honored, but I was also really conflicted in my head. I'm not old, or at least I don't feel like I'm old. I'm still racing. And in fact, I'm racing more now than I have in the past, a lot of the past years. But in my mind, the NASCAR Hall of Fame is there to honor the completion of one's career. With the exception of Winston Kelly, he thinks it's an excuse to get a bunch of free appearances out of the new inductees. But in the 8 months since then, being nominated to this year's class, I've come to appreciate what an honor it truly is. And being one of only 55 people inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, and considering that NASCAR's been around for more than 70 years, I think it's pretty much nuts for me to be here. It's truly an elite group, and it's incredibly humbling to be a part of it. I didn't get here alone, and it started in go-karts with my dad and Mark Dismore. Then when I graduated to three-quarter midgets, it was Roy Barker and Larry Dwinger. Then I got to USAC. In the midgets, I got help from Dan Leary, Raleigh Hemling, Ralph Potter, Larry Howard, Larry Brown, Bob East, Steve Lewis, and Keith Coons. And I got to sprint cars with Steve Chrisman, Ben Leba, and Glenn Nibel. And then in the Silver Crown cars with Gene Nolan, Willie Bowles, George Snyder, and my friend and hero, A.J. Foyt. It led to my IndyCar career with Larry Curry, John Menard, and Chip Ganassi. In between, it was dirt late model races with Steve Barnett, Brian Goey with his big block modified, and the Trigueiro family and Davey Hamilton in super modifieds. And even Kevin Harvick was crazy enough to have him and Delana let me drive their Xfinity car, and Rick let me drive his. But all that has brought me here to NASCAR, and I was actually here and able to stay in NASCAR with the help of a lot of very great, nice, very smart people. Two of them were Jim Hunter and Mike Helton, and if it weren't for those two guys, I'm not here tonight. In fact, I probably would have been kicked down in NASCAR by my sophomore season. But I can tell you this, I'm glad I'm still here, and Jim and Mike were I owe them a great lot of credit for that. And when it comes to Mike, I'm actually able to run racetracks and sanctioning bodies because of him and the knowledge that he gave me. He's helped me figure it all out and allowed me to grow as a person. Mike, I want to thank you so much, and I truly value our friendship. In fact, the whole France family gets credit. None of us are here without them right now. I'm extremely proud of what Jim, Lisa, and now watching Ben step up in his huge role is encouraging for all of us. And I can't wait for you to announce we're going to get a dirt race in the Xfinity Series and Cup Series at Eldora. And Britton Smith, thank you. You're a visionary who knows how to promote and knows a lot in general. When I get in a bind, you're always there for me to give me a direction. And when I busted myself up with a broken scapula or a broken leg or broken back, it was doctors Jerry Petty, Bill Heisel, and Ken Breath who fixed me up. The partnerships I've had in the sport from the beginning with Home Depot, and now I'm with Mobile One and Rush Truck Centers, One Cure, you can't do it without all these guys. These partners extend to our OEMs and our manufacturers. I'm extremely proud to represent the Blue Oval. Ford's with our NASCAR team and my sprint car team, and we win with them on the dirt and the asphalt. The support we've had from all the OEMs across my career, Ford, Toyota, Chevy, and Pontiac, is something I really cherish. And a big congratulations to Edsel Ford on your landmark award and outstanding contribution to NASCAR. You definitely deserve it, bud. And we've had so many great brands who have helped us along the way, but after Joe and I were talking this morning about this, I realized that if we mentioned all of our sponsors, we would be here after Late Night with Seth Meyers was over. And to be part of this class really means so much. I have a connection to every single person in the NASCAR Hall of Fame class of 2020. 20 of my 21 years in NASCAR came driving for Joe Gibbs. You win with people is what Joe always said. Joe surrounded me with some of the best people in racing. That's why we were able to win 2 championships on a lot of races. One of those people Joe paired me up with was Bobby Labonte. When I joined Joe Gibbs Racing back in 1997, Bobby spent the most time with me because that's when I needed the help the most. The transition from sprint cars and midgets to Indy cars was not easy, but it was the time that Bobby invested in me that made the learning curve a little easier. I can remember us being at Rockingham where the Xfinity garage was clear on the backstretch, and I was genuinely excited when Bobby would come all the way over to see what I was doing. The Cup Series with garage was on the front stretch, and Bobby would take time to come over and check to see how I was doing with the car and walk all the way to the infield to the backstretch to see how we were doing and offer advice, and that meant a lot to me, bud. Then there came the day, and I followed everything that Bobby did, and then there came the day that I saw Bobby on a bike, training for like the Tour de France or something, eating health food, talk about living a healthier lifestyle, and I took a big giant swig of Coke, grabbed a bag of Oreos, and decided to do my own thing finally. Turns out both lifestyles can get you to the Hall of Fame. So. But before I got to Gibbs, I started my NASCAR career with Harry Ranier, and the team manager was Waddell Wilson. And with the help of Waddell and Harry's son, Lauren Ranier, they took me to the Buck Baker driving school down in Rockingham. And on the day I was there, Buddy Baker was also there to watch me turn some laps. And I remember it well, especially a sense of pride that someone of Buddy's stature was paying attention to some open-wheel kid from Indiana. To have a connection to every member of this year's NASCAR Hall of Fame class is very special to me, and all of them had an influence early in my NASCAR career that allows me to stand in this spot right now. Of course, getting to this spot doesn't happen without sacrifice, and I'm very proud of my entire family here tonight. My mom and dad made so many sacrifices to give me the opportunity to go racing go-karts and then midgets and sprint cars. And I didn't know it at the time, but they mortgaged their house in order for me to go go-kart racing. And there isn't a financial partner in the world that would say that was a good idea. And I still don't think it was a good idea. But was the first time that I questioned their sanity, but they did it because they believed in me, and I've got to thank my sister Natalie for putting up with all that. In addition to the typical brother and sister fights, racing more often came first, but Natalie rolled with it, and while I was too young and too simple-minded early in my career, or maybe later in my career as well, to say thanks, that's something I definitely appreciate. I guess it's true that with age comes wisdom, and since we're talking about family, and since I don't have one of my own, I'd be remiss if I didn't thank all the girlfriends who were there as part of this journey with me. Sorry, Delaney, I told you I had to do this. These girlfriends' short time and sacrifice meant a lot to me. And then there's Greg Zipadelli. He's only 4 years older than me, but he became to me in what seemed like 40 years of wisdom back when Joe Gibbs paired us up together in '99. And Greg's like a big brother to me. We'd have some knockdown fights every once in a while, which all brothers do at times. But he's a guy who always had my back. I wouldn't have had the success in NASCAR if it hadn't been for Greg Zipadelli. Hell, I've only gone 3 years in NASCAR without Greg at my side, and it's why I had to have him back with us at Stewart-Haas Racing. And my last NASCAR chapter, and what continues to be the most rewarding chapter, is my partnership with Haas and Stewart-Haas Racing. Gene is one of the most astute businessmen I've ever met, but make no mistakes, Gene Haas is also a racer to the core. He wants to win. He's not interested in second place. It's trophies that matter with him. That's the kind of person you want to stand shoulder to shoulder with when you're coming into NASCAR, and I'm absolutely blessed to be partnered with him. I'm not one to get overly sentimental. I leave that for Jeff Gordon. But I know I lead a blessed life. And becoming a member of the NASCAR Hall of Fame is proof of that. Thank you for being here tonight and sharing this moment, and thanks to everyone from those days at the Columbus Fairgrounds to the tracks where we raced in USAC to IndyCar and NASCAR, and now back to the grassroots of sprint car racing for me. Thank you for being a fan and a fan of motorsports. It's been a hell of a ride, but all the pole positions, laps led, wins, championships, trophies, awards, and prestige, they don't matter at the end as much as the relationships I've made with everyone along the way. And that's what I value the most. Thank you, guys. Good night.